This group of astronauts went to do research in space, and then they were exposed to such harmful radiation that it completely changed their DNA. Due to the change in the structure of their DNA, all of them developed different types of powers. But whether they will use this dangerous power for good or create destruction all around, this will only be known after watching. A scientist named Rishat had come to a place with his friend Richard. Both of them had suffered a lot of losses in business, and then they became rich. That is why they approached a very wealthy man named Victor. Richard kept talking about his years of experiments. According to Rishat, human DNA could evolve with the help of a very strong radiation from the sun, and by using it, he could configure the DNA according to his needs, potentially curing all human diseases like cancer. However, to conduct this experiment, he needed funding, which is why he came to ask Victor for support. Victor was a very successful businessman, but he always thought about his own benefit. He became very interested in the experiment, so he agreed to provide the money, but in return he demanded 75% of the patent rights for the experiment. This was his business mind at work. Richard and his team had no other option, so they finalized the deal. A woman named Laya, who was in charge of the whole experiment, was also involved. After all the discussions, Laya left with Richard. She told them about their pilot, Johnny, who was considered the best pilot in the entire country. Weeks passed, and the whole team prepared to go into space for their research. The surprising thing was that Victor decided to join them on the mission. Their entire team reached the International Space Station, where they had to wait for 9 hours for the solar radiation to peak so they could conduct proper research. They got ready by wearing their suits, with Johnny leading the way out of the ship. Victor was inside with Laya, talking to her in a very romantic manner. He was planning to propose to her today, but she had no idea about it. Meanwhile, Richard was busy analyzing the experiment's data. Suddenly, he noticed that the sun's radiation had arrived earlier than expected, which could be extremely dangerous because Johnny was still outside the ship and they hadn't activated any shields for protection. Richard immediately warned Victor, urging him to abort the mission to save Johnny's life. However, Victor was determined to complete the experiment at any cost and refused to stop it. Johnny was still outside when the solar radiation reached them. He had no time to return to the ship, and the radiation began hitting his body. Since the ship's doors were open, the radiation spread inside, affecting everyone on board. The radiation was extremely powerful, engulfing the entire ship in no time. Eventually, they were rescued and returned to Earth. Richard and his entire team were placed under quarantine because the radiation had entered their bodies, and they weren't allowed to leave. Meanwhile, Victor returned to his business. However, his business partner was furious over the failed experiment, as it had significantly impacted their company's growth. Victor was given only 1 week to reschedule the experiment, or else he would be fired. One day, feeling restless, Victor stepped out of his room and walked forward rapidly. Suddenly, he noticed that his body was emitting flames, and soon he was engulfed in fire. Slowly, he transformed into a ball of fire and shot through the sky, crashing into a pile of snow. Johnny was unable to understand what was happening to him. Meanwhile, Richard and Laya were having dinner, feeling lucky to have survived the sun's deadly radiation. Suddenly, Richard's body started behaving strangely and he left the table. As Laya and Richard continued their conversation, it was revealed that Laya was Richard's ex-girlfriend, but they had broken up due to certain reasons. Then, out of nowhere, Laya became invisible. Shocked, she dropped a bottle of wine, but before it hit the ground, Richard instinctively stretched his hand unnaturally large to catch it. Both of them were baffled by what was happening to them. Just then, Johnny arrived and explained what had happened to him. Meanwhile, Victor also started experiencing changes in his body, feeling a surge of strange energy within him. Back in the hospital, the condition of one of their teammates, whom they referred to as the sister, began deteriorating. The rest of the team rushed to check on him. Richard and Laya had an idea that all these changes were due to the radiation, which had completely altered their DNA, giving them unique powers. The sister's condition worsened, and one day he began screaming in his room. His teammates tried to open the door, but it was locked from the inside. Richard saw this as an opportunity to use his new abilities. He stretched his hand under the door and elongated it enough to unlock it. However, when they entered the room, they saw that the sister had completely transformed into a monstrous being and had destroyed the place before escaping. Now, They had no idea where the sister had gone. He had mutated into a gigantic creature, hiding in the city's dark corners. When his brother called his wife, DP, to come and see him, she was horrified by his monstrous appearance and ran away in fear. This deeply saddened him. The next day, the regulators and several other authorities began searching for him. Here, he was sitting on a very big bridge, and he was very tense because his wife was not recognizing him. Then a man comes near the bridge who was going to commit suicide. The driver stops him from doing this and asks him to go back, but the man was very scared after seeing the driver, and he falls on the bridge where a very big truck was moving towards him. The driver jumps down and goes in front of the truck to save this man. The driver's whole body had become so strong that when the truck collides with the van, it gets completely destroyed, and the driver manages to save the man. However, all the cars on the bridge started colliding with each other, due to which the whole place got jammed. Richard and everyone else were also present there, and he saves the truck driver. But the officers thought that the driver had caused all this when, in reality, he was helping them. That's why I called him a man. He puts the car down and starts running from there. Then Leah sees the sister, and they all reach there. Then Johnny sees that a girl is stuck between the cars, and a gas tank was about to explode near her, so Johnny saves her from the big explosion that happened there. Accidents were happening continuously. A fire brigade truck loses its balance and keeps moving forward, breaking the whole bridge, causing a big explosion. But Leah uses her power and suppresses the explosion so that no one gets hurt. However, many people started falling into the water, and the fire brigade truck was about to fall in as well. Richard catches it, but the truck was extremely heavy. Some firefighters were about to fall into the water, so Richard moves back and extends his hands, saving them from falling. Sister also pulls the truck up, saving everyone. The whole team of banners became heroes for the people, and everyone was very grateful to them. They also keep making a lot of noise, and why not? Because all four of them together had saved those people's lives, and now everyone started knowing them as the Fantastic Four. When Victor comes to know about this, he is not happy. Leah had told the media everything about the experiment, and all four of them had become very famous. They're called to a 5-star hotel to stay. All four of them go inside. Victor also goes there to freshen up, and he is very angry with all of them. Victor keeps arguing with Richard, questioning why they spread the news in the media that they got all these powers due to radiation. Now, it seemed like a fight was about to happen between Richard and Victor, but Bane comes there and asks Victor to leave. Victor cannot fight Bane, so he goes back to the lift. He was very angry and hits his hand on the lift wall in frustration, causing the whole wall to shift from inside. Some changes start appearing in Victor's body, which even he himself does not realize. Richard and Leah keep experimenting on everyone. They all had acquired powers by changing the structure of their DNA. When they analyze the sister's body, they discover that the fire inside her had also become solid. On the other hand, Johnny keeps emitting fire from his body and continues experimenting inside the lab. Johnny could emit so much fire that he could melt anything, and this fire was much more powerful than ordinary flames. Johnny would have to learn to control the fire inside him. Richard keeps analyzing Leah's power as well. They all are gradually learning to control their abilities. Meanwhile, Victor visits a doctor, and he realizes that his entire hand is turning into a metallic object, much stronger than iron and titanium. Victor realizes that his DNA has also changed, and now he too has superpowers. To prevent the doctor from revealing this to anyone, Victor kills him. The Fantastic Four team keeps wearing their suits, which allow their superpowers to function properly. The costumes could not catch fire. Leah could become invisible with hers, and Richard could extend his body parts along with his clothes. However, it is said that with great power comes great responsibility, and they had to make sacrifices. The four of them became so famous that whenever they went out, everyone recognized them, and this began to trouble them. Richard comes up with the idea of making a machine that could reverse their powers and return them to their original forms. Meanwhile, Victor's body becomes even more solid, and he discovers that he could control electricity. Using this ability, he kills his business partner, making himself the sole owner of his company. Now, he could do anything. On the other hand, Johnny, feeling bored, goes out and roams freely, performing dangerous stunts using his power, which everyone watches. This is broadcast on national television. Richard and the others go there as using his powers in front of the public was not appropriate. He was only supposed to use his powers to help people, But Johnny was in his own world, unaware of how to use his abilities responsibly. Banner and Johnny move forward to fight each other, but Richard intervenes and stops them. Victor wanted to destroy the Fantastic Four by any means, so he first targets the bank. He tells the bank officials that Richard is making no effort to fix anything. Hearing this, the bank gets furious and confronts Richard, attacking him before leaving in anger. The machine Richard was building was not yet ready, but he needed to fix it by any means, so he puts himself inside it, hoping to reverse his powers. However, after coming out of the machine, Richard's powers are not gone, but his entire body becomes unstable, and he struggles to stand. Victor watches all of this unfold. This was his plan. He goes to Richard to kill him. Victor attacks Richard, but Richard fights back. However, Richard starts falling under the fire because he was not using his powers, allowing Victor to defeat him easily and capture him. Bane, having used the same machine, had reversed his power and returned to his human form. He informs Leah and Johnny that Victor has captured Richard. Victor, standing on the other side of the building, fires at all of them to kill them. Johnny uses his power and redirects the missile Victor launched away from the city, making it explode in the water. Victor had imprisoned Richard, unaware that Leah had arrived. She becomes invisible and successfully frees Richard. Leah starts attacking Victor and lands several blows on him, but Victor does not give up easily. They fight, and Victor falls from the building. Upon reaching the ground, Victor is taken into police custody, but he continues firing at them. When Johnny goes to fight Victor, he is easily defeated. Just as Victor is about to kill him, Richard and the others arrive. However, Victor is not afraid. He uses his electricity powers and tries to eliminate everyone, but they resist. Richard transforms his entire body into an elastic form, wrapping Victor from all sides. Then, Johnny raises his firepower to an extreme level and moves toward Victor. Johnny sends Richard away and surrounds Victor with a whirlwind of fire, heating him up significantly. Then, they pour water on Victor, causing his entire body to turn into stone. He becomes immobilized, and the Fantastic Four successfully stop him. After this, everyone resumes their normal lives. Johnny finds a new girlfriend. Meanwhile, Victor remains alive but is in a stone form. He is transported to a distant location on a massive ship. With this, our story ends here. So, viewers, how did you like this story? Please tell us in the comments section. If you enjoyed my explanation even 1%, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, as this motivates me to bring similar stories for you. See you in the next video. Sci.